picking up on the end of 13.1. You can see that right up here at the top of my tab. We're picking up at the end of here. We got to remember how to find the surface area. Now, we could do this a face at a time. We could do one face, another face, another face. It's a really long process. We have a much easier process for finding surface area. And then we have another process we have to remember for finding the lateral area. So first things first, what's our surface area formula for any prism? Cassie? Lateral area plus 2 times the area of the base, because big B is the area of the base. Now, how do I find a lateral area? Yeah, Luke? P times H, where P is what? Perimeter of the base shape, which in this situation, how do I know what the base shape is? The one where if I slid it down the prism, it would have the same exact shape on the other end. And actually, an easier way, it tells me what the base is. Yeah, in the name of the shape, you know what the base is. So everybody underline or highlight triangular. And then draw around your triangle down here. Because that's the perimeter that we want to find. So that perimeter is just 3, 4, and 5. So I just add these all up. 12. So I then only need the height. What else can I call the height? Because it's not always the height, and in this situation especially, it doesn't actually look like it's the height. Eli, do you know what else we call it?
It's the space between the two bases.
Yeah, so this height, I want everyone to notate that H is actually the distance between bases. My A got a little goofed up. I'm starting to have some dead spots on my smartboard. So if you don't know what something is, ask me. But you can figure out that is distance between bases. So that distance between the bases is from one triangle to the other triangle. It will also be the only number you haven't used yet. Notice we used the 3, the 4, and the 5 to find the perimeter. The only number we haven't used yet is 7. So we plug in my 7 right there. That's going to give me the lateral area. What's 7 times 10?
7 times 10 is 70.
70. What's 7 times 2? 14. Put them together.
84.
84. So that's my total. Not surface area, but lateral area. So those are all the faces around the sides. But that doesn't include the base right here or the base right here. Yeah, in that top drawer. How do I find the area of a triangle? Because my bases here are triangles, and triangles are different. Isaiah?
Length times height.
We don't use length and height now. We use something else in height.
Width.
Bela?
1/2 base times height.
So here, my big B is the triangle, so my big B is going to be 1/2 times the little b times little h. What is important about little b and little h? Because I have 3 numbers on my triangle. I have a 3, a 4, and a 5, and I have to determine which ones I use. Eli?
Like, are you asking what the base is?
How do I find out what the little b and little h are? Like, I have 3, 4, 5 on this triangle. I can only use 2 of them. How do I know which 2 I use? Yeah.
Because the little square right there, I think it's because it's the one on the bottom of the square.
They have to be perpendicular. So this little square tells me, oh, well, the 3 and the 4, that's my base and my height. So when I'm finding this, it's going to be 1/2. Now you can decide which number you use for which. Which would I like to write first here? Which will be easier to find half of?
4.
The 4. So I can write 1/2 times 4 times 3. And I can see that that becomes 2 times 3. And that actually becomes 6. So that's my big B. I found my LA. I now have to use all of that to find my total surface area. So we'll just use green to finish us out. My total surface area is going to be my LA plus 2 times my big B. So my surface area, I plug in my LA is 84. I see that my big B is 6, so I do 2 times the 6. Well, this is going to be 84 plus 12. And 84 plus 12 comes out to be a final 96 meters squared. It's not right unless you have the label. And if you don't have a label, you just put units or U squared. Why is it so important that we have a label? What might we confuse this for, Bunger?
Maybe like, so, okay, I don't know what you would confuse it for, but just anything you could confuse it for.
If I didn't have a square,
Oh, yeah,
what else might it be? It might just be a distance. What else might it be, Eli? It might be volume, so the square tells me its area. That we're talking about the area that something takes up, that it covers. If I unfolded that shape, that's the total space that it would occupy.
96 meters?
Squared. So a meter squared is a meter stick. By a meter stick, make a box. That's 1 meter squared. So this triangular prism is huge. I mean, think about it. It's 4 meters wide, 3 meters tall, and 7 meters deep. So this actually reminds me of when we put some tents together at scout camp, because they make like triangles. So we put 4 tents together, and that's why they now have a rule at our camp that you can't attach tents to each other. But it was like a giant tunnel. So this you would think of like a big tunnel, 4 meters wide. That's about 12 feet wide. That's pretty wide. 7 meters long. That's like 22 feet long, because it's times a little over 3. Luke?
Why do we have meters on it?
Meters deal with the
squared part.
because when we talk area, it's squared. Because it's not length, it's how much coverage it has.
It's not volume either, so it's not cube.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on. This is where it gets difficult, and this is why we're not...
You can decompose a regular hexagon into 6 equilateral triangles.
So I'm going to let this draw. Actually, I'm going to let this talk for a minute.
The 6 triangles are the same size.
I can't stop it, so I'm just going to let it go.
After you find the area of one triangle, you can multiply the area by 6 to find the area of the entire hexagon.
Does this make sense? Is there any other way to break up a hexagon that's easier? Eli?
Could you just use one of those lines?
What do you mean one of those lines?
A length?
Like, what, to cut it?
Yeah.
So what, are you saying just cut it like across here?
And make 2 trapezoids?
So, if I cut it across there and took the top and brought it down here, I'd have one big parallelogram, but still, to figure out all that math is complicated. And then what happens if it's a decagon, or a 12-gon, or a 15-gon? Actually, a 15-gon would be really difficult, because then I'd have 15 triangles, and it would not end up making a perfect parallelogram. That's why we want to use the triangle method. So this could work. I'm not saying it would not work, but all we would do there to find the area is do your base times your height. When we do the triangle area, we do base and height. It's the same thing, just broken up into a smaller portion. And it will always work no matter what size gon you have. A polygon, many sides. It doesn't matter how many sides you have. The triangle method always works. So let's try this out. Miss Adventure came back with a box from Japan. She wants to figure out what the surface area of it, maybe this box is covered in gold, and she wants to figure out, well, what's it worth? How much gold does it really have on it? So start on your paper by drawing lines to show at least a triangle. If you want to draw all the lines to show all 6 triangles, you could do that as well. I'm going to pull up the notes really fast. Just because I want some more space to work. So you should have these lines drawn. First thing I want to do is find the area of the base, but I do not want to start with big B. What does big B represent? Area of the entire base shape, right? The first thing I'm going to do is find one of these triangles. So the first thing I think about is just the area of a triangle, which is 1/2 base times height. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. And I'm writing it over here because eventually I know I'm going to have to erase it. So just put it somewhere. Like, you're going to keep all this work on your paper. And you want to make sure, especially for this problem, that you get all this work down, because your homework's going to be really difficult. Like, who tried the homework, got to some problems like this, and started having trouble?
I had trouble with the
Yeah.
first one.
So that's why we're not moving on. We're not assigning new homework. Like, who still needs time on last night's homework?
A lot.
Yeah, that's what I anticipated. So that's why we're not moving forward. We're just doing this lesson, and then I'll give you guys some time to finish your masteries at the end of class too. So to look at that triangle, the base of the triangle, the little b. Remember, little b and little h have to be perpendicular to each other. So this box right here tells me that my little base is right along this edge, which is 3. And my height is this line right here, which I get told is 2.6. What's easier to find half of? The 3 or the 2.6? The 2.6 all day long. Both values are even. So I'm actually going to do half of 2.6 using my commutative property of multiplication. So that answer is going to get me 1.3, and I still have the times 3. Anybody have issues with why I did that? It's easier mental math. Then, still mental math, can you do 3 times 1.3? Yeah, I don't even have to move any digits over any number places, because 3 times 3 is 0.9, 1 times 3 is 3, so I get 3.9, and since that's area, I'm just going to label it inches squared. But again, that's only the area of one of your triangles. So now to find big B, and I'm actually going to move over here, big B is going to be 6 times the triangle. So 6 times my, what was it, 3.9? Here's an easy trick. 3.9 is very close to 4, right? It's 0.1 away. What's 6 times 4? 24. But because we were 0.1 away on each of those, take away 0.6. So this is going to be 23.4. Because we're missing 6 0.1s, we take away 0.6. So now I can work my lateral area, which we could have done first, but because the hexagon is a new skill, we wanted to cover that first. So is everyone okay with how we did the hexagon? Because you're going to do the got it on your own, and I want to see that we know how to do this. Lateral area, again, always write your generic formula, your beginning formula, P times H. And remember, big B always changes. The formula for big B is always changing depending on the shape. I'm actually just going to work left to right because I have the space to do it. How would I figure out the perimeter around this base?
3 times 6.
Yeah, every edge is 3. and I have 6 edges. So my perimeter is 3 times 6, and my height is the distance between the bases, which I get told over here is 4 inches. So I do 3 times 6, and then that'll be times 4. 3 times 6 going to give me 18 times 4, which gives me that my lateral area. Well, again, break it up. 10 times 4.
40.
8 times 4.
32.
Put them together. 72. Lateral area is important. I should have also put a box around my big B because it's important. Now, what do I need to do? Brennan?
72 plus 2 times.
Yeah, so to find my final surface area, it's the lateral area plus 2 times the big B. So my lateral area was 72. I'm going to add 2 times my 23.4, which I'm actually going to put those in parentheses to make that work look a little nicer. Doubling this, I can double each of those numbers without having to carry over any values. So I get 46.8. And when I add these up, now I'm going to have to carry over into the hundreds place.
118.
There's no and until the decimal place.
122.
Ooh, now we have some disagreement. Somebody check your math. I agree with the 8. What is it?
118.8.
118.8. That seems like it would be correct. What's my label?
Inches squared.
Inches squared. And that's your final surface area. So you'd want to make sure that you either have like SA written out here so we know what we're talking about, or somehow notate that that is your final surface area. Any questions, comments, or concerns on this process? Try the got it on your own. My suggestion is to start by finding the area of one of the triangles and go from there. If you have any issues, please stick up a hand and I will come around and help you. I'm going to leave my process up there so you can reference it if you need. Because that's how many sides they used it as one of the. Oh, that's annoying. Yeah, that I would have just gotten wrong multiple times to get different numbers. If you were like trying to learn it and that was too confusing.
So I actually, and then I had the answer 4, and I was trying to figure out what.
Yeah. You can also trick it into giving you a new problem. If you hit help me solve this and look at the process, then click done, then it'll generate a new problem for you. So if you want different numbers, you can just do help me solve this problem
Or you
and it'll
could-
make you a new problem. Yeah.
I just usually just click the space bar and then click the
Yeah.
retry it. I just do that over and over. You
But
try it like 3
if you
times.
don't want it to look like you got it wrong, because when I look at the analytics, it'll tell me like who's been making mistakes, who's been trying questions multiple times. So that's the only, but I don't really care too much about that because it's all good practice. Anybody having issues with the hexagon? Yeah. So half of 2 would be 1, right? So then what's 1 times 1.7? Just 1.7. So then that's the area of one of the triangles, but just like we did up here, we then have to do 6 times the triangle area because I have 6 of them because it's a hexagon. So you got to take that and multiply by 6 to get your big B. And then we can work it from there. And guys, this is going to be really important when we get to volume 2, so please make sure you know what you're doing. You realize these are the wrong ones. The first thing I said when you came to class was get out yesterday's notes. We did not finish yesterday's lesson. Where, like, how did you even have these? Does any, like, nobody passed out notes today. This is why when you come to class late and you don't know what's going on, you should ask questions. Don't make assumptions. You now need to erase all this. Actually, really need to copy it over to here, and we're doing this problem. This is the same as this, so your work is going to stay the same, but tomorrow we have to do these with volume. So you need these notes blind so you can use them. Do not take another copy of notes, okay? sides. So we do the perimeter because when you break it apart, you need to do that edge length times 6. Whatever the edge length of the hexagon is, you do that times 6. So, yes, 2 times 6 in this case. All right, I'm going to start walking through this. All of this work has to do with the lower problem. That's why I'm crossing that out. It just won't let me move any further up the page. So I start by finding the area of a triangle, and I notate that with just A because nothing else really uses just A in this process. So my area of the triangle is going to be half the little b times the little h. I'll work vertically. So the base of my triangle is how much? 2. The height of it is 1.7. Half of 2 is 1. So this gives me 1 times 1.7, which really tells me that the area of the triangle is 1.7. So then, to find my big B, that'll be 6 times the triangle area because we have a hexagon. So it's going to be 6 times that 1.7. Now, if we had an octagon, it'd be 8 times. If we had a decagon, it'd be 10 times because it's how many triangles do you have. So 6 times 1.7 gives me 10.2, right? So that's my big B. So I'm good there. Now I need to find my lateral area. I'm going to move down over here to do lateral area. Remember, lateral area is perimeter around the base times the height, which is really the distance between the bases. So I look at this perimeter. Now, Bayla, how'd you find this perimeter? Yeah, she looked at her edge length of 2 and said, I have 6 of those. So my perimeter is 2 times 6. And the height, the distance between the bases, is 8. So 2 times 6 gives me 12. 12 times 8? 96. So that's my LA. Any questions up to here? So then I want to plug it all back in to find my surface area. Surface area is going to be the LA plus 2 times your big B. Guys, notice I've written these formulas literally thousands of times, and I still write them out originally because it will stop you from making mistakes. I guarantee the more you write your formulas, the less mistakes you make because you have reference points. You can look back and say, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? Whenever I have somebody come up to me and I say, so why'd you do that? And they're like, I don't know. If you don't know why you're doing something in math, you probably shouldn't be doing it. So I plug in my lateral area is 96. 2 times the base area. Well, my base area was 10.2. So again, I like to put this in parentheses just to make it a little neater. What's 2 times 10.2? So I have 96 plus 20.4. And my final surface area comes out to be 100, what is it?
116 and 4 10 squared.
Nice, I like that. Bella, thinking that's what I was fishing for, even said it the more correct manner. 116 and 4/10 inches squared, if you want to be absolutely correct. Any questions on that last problem? Anybody not get the right answer and not find their mistake? It's okay if you made a mistake as long as you found your mistake. No other questions, comments, concerns on this? Yeah.
At first I forgot to multiply the area by 6.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest mistakes people will make is they will find the area of a triangle, they'll find this, and they will forget that that's only one of the triangles. So they've got to still multiply by 6, and that's one of the biggest mistakes I see people do, because they accidentally use big B over here when they totally shouldn't. We could even use like T or something for triangle area. Whatever variables you want to use, just don't use big B until it actually is the big B, the area of the base. Does this all make sense?
Yeah.
So, here's what's up. I'm going to stop recording. I'm going to pass back your test that a lot of you guys need to finish. That's priority number 1. Priority number 2, I'm going to post the video for the next lesson. I made a chalk talk video. If you want to move on and try that, you can watch the video, and I will go ahead and post the homework today, and you can get like a head start on all that. So, priority 1 is going to be your mastery that needs finished. Priority 2